Welcome. My name is Amy Bauer, and I am the managing principal and co-founder of CASearch Advisors, an executive search firm focused on the real estate industry. Today, as part of our Women in Real Estate series, I am excited to introduce Jaime Hong, Vice President of Sales at Fidelity National Title. Jaime, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So this is the first time that we've had somebody from the commercial title insurance side of the real estate industry. And it's a great opportunity for folks to learn about the different avenues and careers that they can go into. So would you start a little bit by sharing a little bit about Fidelity National Title and your role as the Vice President of Sales?
Of course, yes. So Fidelity National Title was originally founded actually in 1848 as Western Title Insurance. So I like to think, and it is true, that we've underwritten throughout all those years the development of much of the infrastructure in the United States. But the company truly started to look and feel more like the group it is today in the 1980s. So we are the largest title company in the world. We are vertically integrated in that we own lots of companies that do other things within the aspect of commercial real estate. So we own the world's largest 1031 exchange company, IDX 1031. We are heavily involved in both aspects of the residential side of the business, the commercial side of the business. We own technology companies that help build out our CRM system and our other technologies that help, of course, our escrow officers execute more efficiently. And so our chairman emeritus, Bill Foley, I like to think of him as Midas. It feels like everything he touches turns to gold, whether it's the wine industry where he has Foley wineries. He also owns the Golden Knights, who I believe won the Stanley Cup in like the second year that he owned them. So he's just been a phenomenal business leader, visionary, and entrepreneur throughout his entire career. And then especially, again, how he's his time at Fidelity, where he's really poured into the company. We are who we are because I think Bill Foley's influence throughout the years. My role is business development. So I network, build relationships with commercial real estate developers, investors, attorneys, lenders, brokers throughout the country. Because one thing I like to say is I feel like I'm also a detective because each business is different in how they allocate their resources for the title space. So sometimes my contact is the COO of a company. Sometimes it's outside counsel. Sometimes the decision maker for title is the broker. You just never know. And so again, part of my job is to ask the right questions to find the right person as efficiently as possible. So I'm not spinning my wheels because, we only have 24 hours in a day. And I do close nationally. So I am one of the few title reps that will travel outside of the state to major markets to see clients who have, or prospects who have, the opportunity to really drive the needle for me from a production standpoint year over year.
Okay, that's awesome. I didn't, like I said, I didn't realize you had that many aspects to the company was that large, but that many different aspects to it. That's wonderful. That's a lot.
Yeah, it's Bill Foley. That's his influence. He is no longer the president of the company, but he again was founding in the 80s. It really started to morph the company into what we are today.
That's wonderful. That is awesome. Now, you yourself, though, started out in financial services, working for companies like Morgan Stanley and Nuveen. So what made you decide to transition into commercial title insurance? Talk a little bit about that.
Yep. So having two daughters back to back at 37 and 38, I loved my career. I was 17 years in the financial services industry out of Notre Dame, where I majored in the program of liberal studies, basically literature, theology, and philosophy. Nothing to do with finance, but everything to do with understanding how to sort of unpack problems, come up with different ideas, listen, read, learn, and really be a student of the game. And so I learned everything from the ground up in the financial services industry. And I worked for those major asset managers, big companies who are well known, and I wholesale their products to financial advisors. So the end client was the investor in the mutual fund or the managed account or whatever. The conduit to that client was the financial advisor. And I had the product. So still sales. But again, I was traveling a lot for work. I loved it. But something had to give when I had my daughters, and it was that travel schedule and the extreme oversight that I had from management, and the pressure to do a lot of seminars in the evenings. And again, just kind of keep every year, it was like, finish strong. And then, January, start your engines. You're like, ah! And so not that the title industry isn't just as potentially high pressure, but you can make your own thunder. Which you see in how, kind of people build their businesses. It's very entrepreneurial, which I really appreciate about the company. My dad had started the commercial division in Southern California for Fidelity Title in 1986. So I also caveat by saying I had something very lucrative to step into when I made that career change, because he had built this phenomenal foundation of these great real estate investors and developers and attorneys, et cetera, with my mom joining him in 98. So it really was sort of a company within the company. I had a family business to inherit. I just fought it with 17 years because I wanted to go out and do my own thing. But it was something wonderful to fall back into. My dad had always said, everyone we know is in real estate. And being myself, I, of course, had to challenge that. But when I stepped in 2017 to take over for my parents at Fidelity, I realized, oh, yes, that was very true. I just didn't know that these family friends had started out as clients.
Okay. All right. So you've got this family touch point, and it's obviously afforded you to the title industry, the flexibility and entrepreneurship that you were kind of discussing. But what else do you love about the industry?
Oh, I love deals. I love pouring into what my clients are doing. I mean, they have great ideas, whether it's senior housing, looking at things differently in that space, whether it's industrial. I mean, I geek out to these projects that they're doing. Hotels. Oh my gosh, send me all your hotel deals. I love traveling. And that's one thing that, ups my cool factor with my kids too. If I can say, oh, we helped finance this really neat, Laguna Rivera hotel on PCH as we're going in. And, made that beautiful, that old building into something beautiful, preserved it, and, so I love it. And I love a lot of things going on at once. I've never been diagnosed with ADHD, but it might be out there. In my world, I'm always meeting new people. I open up 45 to 50 new orders a month on average. So there's like so much going on all the time, and it's always different projects.
Okay, that's awesome. So, well, and talking about deals, I don't think people realize how integral,
Yeah.
title insurance is to a deal until you're right in the middle of it, right? So, there are so many different aspects that we talked about earlier to
Yeah.
commercial title, and so many different career paths that people can follow. So, talk a little bit about that. Talk about the different aspects and the different paths that people can follow.
Yeah. And I have to say, on the sales side, it's kind of like when I started at Morgan Stanley as a financial advisor at, 22 years old out of Notre Dame. My manager at the time was like, oh, go call the parents of your friends at Notre Dame and see if they want to invest with you. This is when I was actually like a financial advisor, boots on the ground. And I was like, they just saw me tailgating at at the Notre Dame USC game. I don't think they think I know more than they do about stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. So that's kind of the thing in the title insurance industry. I mean, I could transition from my 17-year career into sales because I had this great network that my parents had built for me, this great foundation. It is very difficult to start into sales in this industry right out of school because the relationships tend to be baked. I mean, I guard my people. I always say my biggest client is someone else's biggest prospect. I think about my deals like I'm always earning that order. I'm always earning the next transaction. And, hopefully the me's in our industry who are successful are also guarding their clients like that. So it's hard to break into sales. But there are so many other roles. I had a friend who was going to go into the sales role who, again, didn't have the network, and he has a legal background, and he's one of our best title officers. So if you are, in law school thinking, hey, maybe I don't want to go the route of churn and burn, working all the title officer is a phenomenal role for someone with a legal background. I mean, the open order desk is a great place to start if you are right out of school, because you learn how to open up deals. Just kind of depending on where you're at. There's the residential side of things, where you can work as an escrow officer, a residential escrow officer. You could be a residential title officer. We have technology roles. We have someone who came from actually a military background, and he does all of our data analysis. I mean, he was like helping to pull Army service members out of like Iraq and, strategizing. And then he's over here strategizing on helping me utilize the technology that's available to go deeper and, more laser focused on the kind of prospecting that I'm doing. And so, and then also Fidelity is great about if you are interested in a management role, whether you start out in sales or you start out in title or however you want to slice this cake. They do have training every couple of years at our headquarters in Jacksonville, Florida, where they work with you on, presentation skills, data analysis, things that would make you, and coaching, things that would make you a great manager.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. And then we talked a little bit about, the finance background and the military background and the legal background, but are there any other avenues that you've seen, kind of backgrounds that you've seen people come into the industry with that have really kind of lent themselves well to making that transition?
Yes. I mean, we've seen people whose families have run commercial real estate companies or have been involved in commercial real estate companies. That is an easier transition over, especially if you were paying attention as you were growing up, or, again, you have a good network to what your parents are doing. And then also, there are programs are much of what we do, especially on like escrow, and I find title too, it's almost apprenticeship. You just come in green and you learn through, trial by fire. You're just thrown into the transactions and you get a great escrow officer who can coach you. Typically, our escrow officers are backed by 2 or 3 assistants. And same with our title teams. So, you start out kind of the newbie, but then eventually we're very good about promoting from within and moving you up. There's also, of course, MRED programs through USC, UCLA, Masters in Real Estate. Those are great backgrounds to have. Notre Dame has the Fitzgerald Institute for Real Estate, where it's not a major, but it's a minor, and it's the biggest minor at Notre Dame. So we have people who are thinking they're going law track. We have people who are program of liberal studies like I was, literature, theology, philosophy, with now getting exposure to the commercial real estate space. And they're really pouring a lot of resources into that program. One of my friends who's up in LA, graduated from Notre Dame and was the COO of a big industrial company. He actually goes back to Notre Dame and teaches. So great network that you're forming too when you are in college, and you can get some exposure to real estate. And then one other thing, when I started, again, I knew enough to be dangerous in the commercial real estate space. And I did online classes through Cornell University before online was cool, 2019. And got a certificate in commercial real estate development, which was very helpful for me to understand. Again, when I was in finance, I had been a financial advisor. So I knew what was on the plate of these advisors every day. I knew what were their concerns, were their hot buttons. Taking this then certificate in commercial real estate development was phenomenal, because now I have at least a working knowledge of what it is to get a project off the ground, and I have more empathy for my clients. And I think it makes me a better title rep. Also helps me to push our underwriters a little bit more to say, hey, this is a really neat project. Let's get to a yes. Let's help these guys out.
So anyone watching Cornell's commercial real estate development,
it's on my LinkedIn. It's on LinkedIn, and others have it, but they're known for real estate, and it was a really phenomenal program. I think it was like 7 courses, and then you get the certificate in the end.
That's wonderful. Okay,
Yeah.
great. So these 3 questions I usually ask everyone that we that we interview for Wires. And so we're just gonna take them one at a time because it really does kind of give everybody a great perspective. But so what is your biggest accomplishment? What makes you most proud?
Okay, so yes, I have to say personally, my daughters at 9 and 10. And it's funny when the oldest one was like 3 years old, I caught her riding her little bike in the backyard. She like started riding her bike at a very young age. She was riding her bike in the backyard, and she was like talking to herself. And I was like, doing Charlotte. She goes, I'm doing titles. It's like, I got to make some money. I'm doing titles. I'm like, okay, well, apparently I have had an influence on you already. But our charitable involvement makes me very proud. I helped produce a documentary on human trafficking back in 2012 to 2014. It was girls being trafficked from Nepal to India, and I wasn't married. I didn't have kids. I had more time and more money, and got to participate in this project, go to Nepal, interview these girls who we had learned had been trafficked and then rescued, got to talk to the people that were boots on the ground who were helping, many of them from California, which was really neat to see. And I've continued to then took a little bit of a break having those kids, but have continued to pour into fighting human trafficking locally through an organization that I helped found with Susan Samueli and Carrie Clausen, called The Collaborative. In fact, we have a meeting tomorrow, and we are going to decide which organizations we're going to dole out some funds from our collective pool that we have. And so we help vet out organizations that are doing the right thing to help victims and to help with prevention and all of those things. So that, and then also Samueli Academy Charter School. I get to drive by that in Santa Ana occasionally and tell our daughters that we helped donate funds. And I was on the Capitol campaign with Susan Samueli to build a school that allows foster kids in sight unseen. They get in automatically because it's originally tied to Orangewood. And then it's really serving that community in the Santa Ana area where most kids are there first to graduate from high school, some of them, and then first to go on to college.
Okay. That's awesome.
Very cool.
Wow, that is amazing. Good for you.
Yeah. This title and escrow job, Fidelity helps fund all the other things that I like to do to make an impact.
That's wonderful. That is absolutely wonderful. So what have you found the most challenging in your career?
The most challenging in the title insurance industry for sales reps, I think, is the reputation that sales reps get. That I've seen for just kind of being, like the good time guy. Like, especially prior to 2008, when 2008 SB 133 was instituted, which I appreciate, where we are no longer allowed to spend money on clients. We can't entertain. For a while, I felt like my dad was like Ticketmaster, and he had a great reputation in the industry, but it was like, let's go to the dugout suite for the Angels game, and then I'm going to take you to Staples. And, it was this kind of implied pay to play. You got a lot of like former athletes in the industry, and just, it's like, you played water polo at USC, you'll be a great title rep. It's well beyond that. Yes, of course, that relationship development is important, but really what our clients care about is that we are there when they need us. We can leverage our resources. I can give them referrals to, attorneys. If you're doing a deal in South Carolina, I've got people that it's so much. This job can be, because it is entrepreneurial, can be so much bigger than what I think the perception is. And I really try to make myself indispensable to our clients.
Okay, that's great. Then how have you surprised yourself so far in your career?
I think it's a good question. When I transitioned careers, that was very scary. I had a certain income level after 17 years in the industry. I had a certain reputation. I felt like I really valued myself. I think many of us do this based on the kind of my job, my career. It's how I kind of define myself. And so to take that leap and go somewhere different, even though I had a bit of a safety net because of those clients. My dad had passed away of cancer in 2012. And so by 2017, my mom had been maintaining our clients. Again, she had joined him in 98 to help him with his business, but she's not as forward facing. And so we had lost a lot of business over those years. It's a very competitive industry. And so building that back, getting to where I am today. Last year, I was ranked top 3% in our company out of everybody that we own. We own Chicago Title and Commonwealth and all these different, and out of, the whole country, I was ranked in the top 3% of Fidelity Title reps. And so I felt really, really proud about that.
That is awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah. And I didn't do it by full boating people on fees, just so you know. I just have a lot of deal flow and a lot of repeat customers.
So on the personal education side, any podcasts, any publications, any,
Yeah. So we talked about podcasts. I wish I was more of a podcast girl. But from my finance background, I try to read the Wall Street Journal every day. It is more difficult with kids, and I actually get the paper out. Like I crack that paper open because I feel like I can really retain the articles better that way.
Yep.
Yeah, if you see me on an airplane, I'll probably have 4 Wall Street Journals with me to catch up, and I love it. I just devour you devour the information, because you never know where you're going to get some little aspect of some fun fact, some anecdote. There was yesterday on the cover of the Wall Street Journal, there was a piece on databases and how they are coming into these small towns and just transforming these small towns. This woman who her parents had immigrated from Mexico, years ago, she was working in a factory. She's now a realtor in her small town because the databases, Amazon has brought so many jobs to these small towns.
Right.
My industrial clients love that I can speak to that. So
okay.
Yeah, I love that. Senior housing is a big aspect of my business. I try to read Senior Housing Business. They talk about national transactions, the movers and shakers. I also go to the NIC conference for senior housing, which is twice a year. There's 3,000 to 4,000 people in the senior housing industry nationally that go, and it is phenomenal for networking. And also my mom says, since she's 77, hopefully she doesn't mind me saying that, she's like, I feel like you're doing reconnaissance for me and my friends. You're researching all where should we live someday? What's available for us? And then locally, the Orange County Business Journal. I love reading about local new projects that are happening. I get disappointed when they're not with me, but also companies that are active, people who are making things happen. It's really good to read your local kind of business journal paper.
So when you actually have free time, what do you like to do with it?
I work out a lot, but I get up at 4:30 in the morning, and there was an article again recently about CEOs and leaders, and it's there's something about waking up at 4:30 in the morning that's supposed to make you good to great. But I go to Orange Theory. I love my local Orange Theory, but I also love that if I go to Dallas, like I am, Sunday to Tuesday this coming week for an industrial conference, they're everywhere and it's consistent. I love raw yoga strength. That's across from my house. We love traveling internationally. I love showing my daughters the world. I'm a million-mile flyer on United, over 1 million miles now. And I hit that at 42, and I started my Mileage Plus account at 22. So I was like, gosh, what can I do in the next 20 years? I'm 48 now. And then we love volunteering and charity work. And then, yes, I drive my daughters to their flag football and soccer, and I love cheering them on at their games. They're like little competitive nutballs, and so fun to be part of their world.
So what advice would you have for women, or really anybody that wanted to kind of go into the commercial title industry?
So yeah, I would say for women in general, I loved the book Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg, who's the COO of Meta. And I just think that just for all of us, taking your seat at the table, asking for what you want. Don't downplay your strengths. Don't apologize for thinking differently. How many times have you been in a meeting and it's like, well, I'm not going to raise my hand because everybody already knows that. Don't raise your hand. Share the idea. Be a constant learner. Again, reading these publications, asking good questions of clients. One thing I don't is, my clients, if they have a project going, I don't disclose. I feel like I'm almost like attorney-client privileges because they don't necessarily want you going out and sharing their story with everybody. But asking good questions of them and just having like some great anecdotes about, well, what's happening in industrial right now? Oh, industrial occupation is at a 10-year low. I believe last I read it was at like 10% or something at vacancy rates. And that's terrible for our industrial guys. And so that, it's changing though constantly. So go to the conferences, learn the information, be a student of the game, be a consummate student of the industry, ask for referrals. My finance background had the best sales training. I mean, Nuveen would record us talking like with, a fake person across the manager typically. And you'd go to like hand them a document and you didn't control the literature. And so the client would be like this, oh, I'm reading what you're giving me. And it was phenomenal. But they always said, ask for the order, ask for the referral before you leave, especially, don't do it if the guy across from you is like, well, I think you're kind of an idiot. They're dumb to get in the referral. But if you have great rapport with someone, why wouldn't you? Who else do you think I need to know?
Yeah.
I think that really, really helps. And then someone told me long ago in finance that Wall Street is a short street, meaning don't burn bridges.
Oh, yeah.
Same is true in commercial real estate, right? Be the person that people want to hire, be the person people want to work for, and just really maintain your integrity and you will go far. People will want to send you business. They will want you to be on their team.
That's great advice. Wonderful advice. Well, Jaime, thank you for sharing your energy and your industry and your story with me today. This has been an absolute pleasure. I really appreciate it.
Thanks. Thanks for giving me a platform. I appreciate it.
No, it's a like I said, great opportunity for folks to learn more about the commercial title industry and that this side of the real estate industry, because there's, like I said, so many ways to enter commercial real estate and people just don't know all of them. So it's great to highlight different avenues. So thank you again. So, and to everyone watching, we hope that you have enjoyed this episode of Wires. Thank you so much for joining us. Goodbye.
Thank you.